I want to move on to the third section, the third bayan of this text. Those of you who've got it to hand will find this on page 133. Here again, he's cited his proof texts, and now he adopts his usual method of actually analysing the position and duties. And here he entitles the section An Exposition of the Method by which Discipline, Riyada, is used to break the greed of the stomach. So he's given us the diagnosis, and here is his remedy. Know that 4 duties are incumbent upon the aspirant, the murid, with regard to his belly and his diet. First is that he should only eat food that is halal, for to worship on a diet of unlawful food is like building on the waves of the sea. We've already made mention of the degrees of scrupulousness. This is the virtue of wara, by the way. Scrupulousness, which must be observed in this regard in the Kitab al-Halal wal-Haram, and the Sufis in particular are famous for their nitpicking insistence on the absolute purity of what they eat. Not just whether it is halal in terms of its substance, but also halal in the way in which it has been acquired. If you have copies of Imam Bayhaqi's 77 Branches of Faith, he has a section on wara, where he indicates the enormous importance of this virtue. So that's the first and most obvious one. Make sure that it's halal. Harder for us now than in Ghazali's time because of the prevalence of food additives and dubious practices, particularly in the animal husbandry industry. We have to think about this more carefully than any previous Muslim generation. We have to address hard questions such as, can Muslims eat battery hens? Hadith says, if a believer prays and fasts and yet mistreats even a hen that he owns, he is not to be accounted amongst the just. And battery farms are effectively concentration camps, a kind of animal Auschwitz, in which conditions are quite atrocious and unquestionably are a violation of the letter as well as the spirit of the Sharia. But our communities have not yet even begun to think about this, and if you go to the city of Mecca, you'll see that they have their own fast food restaurants. There's this chain that's actually outsold McDonald's even in Mecca, called Al-Baig. And you see these enormous, swollen Saudi teenagers eating these tiny little chickens, these francolins, and they just gobble them one after the other. And the chickens have been produced according to the most modern and most morally repugnant methods of mass production, treating them not as Allah's creatures for whom we are accountable, but simply as products on a conveyor belt. It has to be said, our community has not begun to think about this particular moral problem, an aspect of the Sunnah which has been, it seems, jettisoned entirely. So that's the first of Ghazali's duties.